In just a few seconds, you are going to see my Toastmasters Icebreaker Speech for the path of motivational strategies. And you may be wondering, wait, what do you mean Icebreaker Speech? Isn't your YouTube channel all about Toastmasters? Why are you just doing your Icebreaker Speech now? I will explain that later, but first off, let's get straight into my Icebreaker Speech, and then we'll break it down afterward.
At the age of 3, I was a confident communicator who was not afraid of public speaking. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters here in person, and Dennis on Zoom. According to my baby book, there were 2 phrases I used to say often as a 3-year-old. The first, let's take a banana and go on a vacation. Sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. The second, I want to kiss a woman. Not, I want to kiss an age-appropriate 3-year-old. No, I was setting my sights much higher. I want to kiss a woman. What this baby book also outlined was my early dislikes or my fears. And back then, public speaking wasn't listed as one of my fears. In fact, it was stuffed animals with large round eyes, which, let's face it, that's frightening to even think about today. But at some point, something changes. Because many 3-year-olds are like myself when I was 3. They're not afraid of public speaking, yet we know that glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking, is the #1 most common personal fear in the world. So when we unpack why people are afraid of public speaking, we understand that it doesn't have anything to do with the fear of physically standing in front of people and projecting our voice. It has to do with the social pressures we experience. See, as I look around the room, and I see Dennis on Zoom as well, I see people whose time is very valuable. You have families, you have careers. Who am I to demand that you pay attention to me for 4 to 6 minutes? There's a lot of pressure on me to deliver you with value, and that is some of the fear that we experience. And this fear was really unearthed for me when I first joined RE/MAX about 10 years ago. You see, what wasn't explained was that once per month, I would have to give presentations to a room full of people. And what I noticed is about 2 weeks prior to that first speaking opportunity, the nerves started to set in. And then I had the chance to give the presentation. And I got through it. I floundered through it, but I got through it. And then I could breathe a huge sigh of relief. And I could relax for 2 weeks. Because 2 weeks later, I was now 2 weeks away from the next speaking opportunity. And this was a cycle that repeated itself month after month after month after month until I realized I am living half of my life with a fear of public speaking. And that is no way to live your life. So that's what prompted me about a decade ago to join this Toastmasters club. And what I noticed is after about 3 months of attending on a regular basis, that fear was dramatically reduced. And then along the way, I picked up a few skills. I can confidently look throughout the room and make eye contact with each of you as I'm presenting. And the awe counter report will come later in the meeting, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but I would predict that there won't be too many ahs or ums caught from this presentation because it's something I've worked on and that this club has helped me with. But I have a confession. I have not been a perfect Toastmaster. Even though I've been in this club for 10 years, even though I have a YouTube channel teaching people how to do well with Toastmasters, I have not been a perfect Toastmaster. You see, back in my day, there was no online pathways program. There was a competent communication and a competent leadership print manual. And early on, I flew through that education program. And shortly after, Pathways was introduced. And I don't know what it was, but I was stubborn. I was reluctant. I didn't want to take on this new education platform. But after some gentle nudging from the Toastmasters executive, I realized it's time. You see, 2025 is a big year for me. My wife and I are expecting our first child next month, a little baby girl. Thank you. And I want to be an example for her. One, I know I'll have a lot more content for speeches coming up in the next few months. But two, I want her to be someone, I want myself to be someone she looks up to. Because my biggest goal for her, as we start to purchase her baby book and fill it out, is that she's not just a confident communicator at the age of 3, but someone who's proud to speak her voice throughout her entire life. Thank you.
So there you had it. That was the icebreaker speech. Now, I did a video a couple weeks ago breaking down the context. It should be popping up right now, breaking down the context of why I am only now venturing into the pathways side of things. My speech also sort of explained this as well. And in that video, I also give tips for how you can take on the icebreaker speech too. But I want to break down how this speech went. Overall, I was happy with it. I did practice a number of times, almost daily for the past 2 weeks leading up to this, because I wanted to do a good job with my brand new speech on the pathways side of things. I did feel as though it went well. The evaluation I received was positive remarks, mentioned that there may have been an opportunity for more vocal variety at some point, but I do think I had that element throughout the speech. And so it went well. I was happy with it. Being my own worst critic, there were a couple things I noticed, and feel free to jump in the comments. Let me know what you think went well or what I could maybe improve upon in the future. The first thing, this is specifically a recording issue, but the sound. I had my microphone on this side, and so when I turned my head this way, it was harder to hear my voice versus when I was facing to my left. And so that's a note if you're ever using a microphone or something like that, that you are mindful of how the sound affects when you turn your head different ways. It should have been more centered for me to eliminate that. The next thing is there was a projector which shows us who's joining the meeting virtually via Zoom. And for a lot of the presentation, you could actually see some of that projector on my left arm. I should have taken a step to the right and avoided that because it can be a little bit distracting for the audience. The final way I think I could have improved this speech was the conclusion. I sort of fumbled over my words toward the end, and I didn't draw too much attention to it. I think I brought it together nicely, but I would have rather had it really perfect, polished, and bring everything together, because audiences will often remember the last part of a speech just as they will remember the beginning of a speech. And so if I could go back and do it again, I would really try to nail the landing on that ending, so to speak, because I think I fumbled it a little bit. I used the word flounder, which was our word of the day. You might have heard the knocking. That's what our Toastmasters Club does to indicate that use. And I spoke quicker. This is something I do many times, but I speak quicker in front of an audience than when I'm practicing. So when I was practicing the speech, I was coming in at 6 minutes, 30 seconds. The timing for my actual icebreaker here in the meeting was 5 minutes. So that means I could have slowed down my pacing a little bit more than I did. Other than that, that was it. And I hope that this video gives you a bit of a framework. By the way, if you are brand new to Toastmasters, please keep in mind, I have been a Toastmaster for 10 years. And so I try not to be like braggy, but I have been doing this for a while. And so if you see my speech at a certain level and you don't feel like you're there, give yourself 10 years, right? Give yourself a lot of time to get to that point. Icebreakers aren't supposed to be perfect and polished, but the reason I wanted to take on this icebreaker was because I was venturing back into the educational platform of Pathways, which I have yet to try out. And so it was a necessary step for me to do. So please don't judge yourself based on how mine was, but I would love to hear your comments. Be as critical as you'd like, because I've been a Toastmaster for a long time. What else do you think I could have done better? Were there parts that you liked about my presentation? Love to hear it in the comments. If you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel, and definitely check out this video next, which is popping up, because it breaks down the process I took and the process you should take when you're preparing for your icebreaker speech. I know it will be very helpful to you, whether you've given an icebreaker in the past or not. Some good information there. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.